It is the SMT Media Network. In today's video on the association, I want to react to the New York Knicks hosting the Boston Celtics in a beatdown in the Garden. Wasn't even close. And without Kristaps Porzingis, the Celtics just dominated the Knicks. And, I think it's pretty fair to establish that the Celtics are still the team to beat in the East. They are still the favorite to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. In my estimation, when they're on and they're focused and they do what they're capable of doing, they are the elite class of the league. As much as we love the Thunder, the Cavs, the Celtics, in my opinion, are still the favorite to get to the finals, in my opinion. And I think that on any given night, they're still the best team in the NBA. Anyways, I want to discuss the outcome of the game, why it's such a big deal. Let's kind of look over some of the things that happened during the game. I watched the game, looked at all the elements of the game, and here's my takeaways. So, no Porzingis. This was an opportunity for the Knicks to exploit that. Obviously, Karl Anthony Towns would have been, in line for a big game, but in my estimation, he didn't have a big impact on the game at all. That's going to be something I talk about. I also want to give credit to Jalen Brunson, who in my opinion is a fantastic basketball player. Man, he is so good. If you guys don't watch much of the Knicks, watch a couple of games and watch this kid play, man. He is so good. The control of the game, the same kind of compliments I have about SGA, I also have about Brunson with respect to controlling the flow of the game. The only difference is I don't think Brunson's as good a defender or as good as a distributor. He's pretty good at those things, but just SGA's is different. But anyways, no Porzingis. You think the Celtics would have been in trouble with Karl Anthony Towns? They absolutely were not. His defense is awful. Offensively, he was a no-show. He was not engaged. He was not making an impact on the game. He ended the game with 9 points on 3 of 8 shooting, 2 of 2 from 3. Look, it's not the fact that, he didn't shoot well or anything. He just didn't shoot much. 3 of 8? You're like the team's, 1-2 option between you and Brunson. What the hell's going on there? And I've seen this happen a couple times this year. Additionally, from the Knicks, outside of Brunson, you got a little bit from Josh Hart. He got you 17 points. Off the bench campaign, got you 14. That's not enough to beat a team like the Celtics. Mikal Bridges 11. It's not going to do it. You're going to need more from Karl Anthony Towns, especially in a game where you didn't have Kristaps Porzingis. Oh, and the Celtics also didn't have Drew Holiday. So on the perimeter, they should have been able to exploit matchups like Peyton Pritchard, who played 27 minutes and scored 25 points. He's been great this year. Jason Tatum went off, 40 points. He was getting whatever the hell he wanted, inside, outside, 29-footers, whatever. He was killing the Knicks. Knicks didn't make any adjustments. They weren't able to stop or slow him down at all. He was finding guys open. He was looking for his shots. Whatever he wanted, he was getting it. You didn't get much out of Al Horford, who played 31 minutes. He hasn't been that great this year. Luke Cornett gave you a little bit, right, in spot duty because Kristaps was out. Derek White got 17 points in 25 minutes. Jaylen Brown was decent in terms of the game, but he didn't shoot particularly well. 0 for 3 from 3, 5 of 14. But, Jaylen Brown, you got to respect it. He slashed to the hoop a couple of times, found some way to get some points. But really, it was about Peyton Pritchard getting loose and getting crazy. And, I don't know. I think Derek White had a pretty good game too, but really, it was Tatum and Pritchard. I don't know about the Knicks, guys. Look, when I look at the Knicks and I look at the Eastern Conference, to me, I see the Cavs, I see the Celtics as being the top 2, and then I see everybody else. So like Knicks, Bucks, I see them as a second tier. And it's games like this where the Knicks don't really compete, which I don't know how. Drew Holiday is an elite perimeter defender. He's out. You can't make the Celtics pay. Kristaps Porzingis is out. You can't make the Celtics pay with Karl Anthony Towns. It says a lot about the team. It says a lot about how in this particular circumstance, you couldn't beat the Celtics. In fact, you didn't even compete. Like, look at some of these numbers from the Knicks. They shot 42% from the field, 37% from three. They went to the line 29 times, right? And they still couldn't get within, what? I was looking at the second half score. They were down by almost 30 at one point, I think, if I remember correctly. You know, what the hell are we doing right now? You know, it's not like they turn over the ball a lot or anything. That's not the case. But just the offense at times, especially early, it was like stalling. It was sputtering. They were down by 15 in the first quarter. I think they cut it to single digits before the end. But you can't play from behind the eight ball on a team like the Celtics. They're the type of team, you got to bounce on them early. You got to make them doubt themselves, make them jack up crappy quality 3-point shots and make them miss and only give them one shot. And then, you just look at the rebound discrepancy. The Knicks were out rebounded by 25 or something. What the hell? What's Cat doing? What do you, 9 rebounds? There's some games where you got to step up. Your number 2 rebound, and this is something I said in the last video I made about the Knicks. I can't think of a time where your number 2 rebounder is a guard. He gets 8 rebounds, which is incredible. It's an amazing thing to see a guard, being such a good rebounder. But you got problems when your number 2 rebounder is a guard. And he's not that different than your top rebounder in Karl Anthony Towns, who had 9 rebounds. Look, no team is perfect. I acknowledge that the Knicks are not perfect. But when you're hosting the Boston Celtics down 2 of their key starters, you can't lose by 20-plus points. Come on. Or whatever. What did they lose? Yeah, they lost by 27. What the hell's going on, man? Good for the Celtics. They look good. They played up to their competition. A team that we like these kind of matchups, potentially a playoff matchup. But the Knicks, you can't do this. You can't shit the bed. Against the Celtics when you're hosting them in MSG. Just a bad showing from the Knicks. And I like the Knicks, and I think they're a nice team, but there's clearly 2 tiers, and the Knicks are in tier 2 and the Celtics are in tier 1.